Hey everyone, Cooper here, host of the fine podcast you're listening to. I just want to let you know that the episode you clicked on has a format that is very heavily inspired by a podcast called The Bookening. To be clear, our thoughts and opinions in this episode are our own, but the format is very similar to this podcast. I just wanted to give you a heads up and give credit where it is due. With that out of the way, enjoy the show. Coming up next, Booking It reads, Emma! And welcome back to Booking It. I'm, of course, humble and eloquent host Cooper Cobbs. And joining me today is my very good friend, Mr. Tanner Lewis. How you doing, Tanner?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
Absolutely. I always do, Tanner. I always do. It's my job.
And I always say that as well, or
It's
at
true.
least try to,
You do?
unless I'm being Matthew for the minute and saying howdy.
Yeah, exactly. We have a very polite code of conduct here on the podcast. I apologize for my stuffy nose. This will go down in history as probably the best stuffy nose episode we've ever done. Right up there with Call of the Wild Part 2 and things like that. But anyway, we'll power through. But unfortunately, though, even more unfortunate than my stuffy nose, Isaiah got away from reading Jane Austen. I don't know how he did it.
He
I
did
don't
it
know
so artfully.
He did. He was like, 1 week before, he's like, guys, I'm about to go hunting for a month, and I don't know. I can't read it, man. I got to do school because I'm going to be gone for a while and missing school, so I got to do it now. And we're like, oh, gosh, fine. We'll let you go hunting, Isaiah. We will release you from your contract temporarily so you can go hunting. Anyway, yeah, but okay, so guys, recording past couple weeks has been really funny because obviously last week I chronicled what happened with the Telltale Heart and all the drama that went on behind the scenes for that, which was...
Wait a second. You said that?
I
had no idea
just kind
you
of talked
said
about
that.
Yeah, I talked about how we were all gonna do something wicked this way comes. That didn't happen. Isaiah had plans. You forgot we were recording. We had to do it on Thursday. Then you and Isaiah were gonna do it. Isaiah couldn't do it, so you had to do it. But then I was like, hey, can you wait? And you were like, no, I'm out. You record now, and all that kind of stuff happened. But with this episode today, on Monday, I was like, guys, Isaiah's gonna be gone for a while. We all want to be on for the Ember's End episode. Let's just go ahead and record that this week. And then I spend like my nights like reading into the night, reading Green Ember, trying to finish it in time. And then then Tanner's like, we need to record earlier today so I can be on. And Isaiah's like, I can't do that. Bye. So, stuff happens, guys. Yeah.
Stuff happens.
But hey, the good
Wait,
news
what's
is
that from?
stuff happens? I don't know. I mean, I think that a lot of people say that.
No, that's from a book, though, specifically.
I don't know.
I just read it.
Huh.
Now I'm mad that I can't come up with it.
Not Watership Down, probably.
No, it's not. I don't know. Anyways.
Good news is me and Tanner are here talking about Emma. We're excited to do so. We've been looking forward to talking about Emma for a long time. Isaiah has not, but that's okay. He'll have to edit this, so we can't really get away from everything. But all right, well, Tanner, I guess, where do you want to start with Emma? You want to give baggage?
I will give baggage. Emma. Funny story. My mom got the Audible for this before we ever got the book. And she played it. So we have speakers in our room, in our house, the Sonos speakers. And she played...
Instead of Amazon Alexas,
hey,
baby.
chill. We got this before Alexa was a thing.
I know.
And they still work. And they still have really good audio quality. I'm telling you, they're amazing. People underestimate them. Anyways, avoiding that. She would play that for us as we're going to bed, and none of us liked it, and I had no idea that we were reading, and I would often fall asleep before the book even started, so it was pretty bad. I did not have. I thought it was boring, and I had no idea what was happening because I always fell asleep, and had no idea where we were when I woke up. So there's that. And then. I don't know, at some point my mom's like, we're going to actually read this now. And she starts turning it on while we're in the car. And I'm like, great, now I have to listen to it. So I start listening to Emma, and I'm thinking, this is decent. And then we finished it, and I'm like, okay, it's okay. And so we finished it up then, and I don't know, I'm probably, I'm going to call it 10 at this time. And I'm like, this is okay. I'm never going to read it. I'm never going to get an actual copy of the book. We're just going to listen to the Audible because I don't like this book as much as I like other books. Anyways, we fast forward 4 years. My youngest sisters are now 7, 9, and 11. And my mom's like, we're going to read this book again. And I'm like, okay. It's like, okay. So we start reading this book again.
Sure.
And I'm actually enjoying it this time. I can't tell you why at the time, but I'm actually enjoying it. And we finish up the book, and I'm like, this was good. Then my mom gets us the BBC version of Emma on
like the audio dramas.
Yeah, not the audio dramas. I'm talking about
the
like
radio.
Not the radio. I'm talking about the BBC series.
The movie.
The movie and the BBC series and the other. There were like 4, and I've seen all of them. My favorite is the BBC. We'll talk about that later.
Okay, good.
But we watched them, and the BBC version, I watch it, and I actually know what's going on compared to the book when I was listening to it. And I'm like, wow, this is so cool now. And so now I read the book and legitimately enjoy it.
Nice.
That is a very long package.
Nice.
But you needed all of that.
2 minutes. Yeah. So Tanner really loves... Well, actually, funny story. So way back in the day, actually, honestly, on Call of the Wild Part 2, wow, that was funny, the way I referenced that. But Call of the Wild Part 2, I'm trying to start like this new segment at the very end. It's called Better Than, Worse Than. You would take similar books to the novel we were discussing and say, okay, is this better than or worse than? And so I think I said Call of the Wild was like better than Sign of the Beaver, but worse than, I don't know. But Tanner says that it's worse than Emma. And I'm like, Tanner, you completely undermined the segment. Like, that's not what the segment was about. You can't compare Call of the Wild. Anyway, it was hilarious. But Tanner was reading Emma around that time, and you were liking it a lot then. So I guess that was a second go through then, around there.
That was a second go through. I think I've done it 3 times now. But I've watched all the BBC shows like 4 times.
So who plays Darcy? Not Darcy. My gosh, Knightley. And the BBC. Is anybody we know of?
No, not really. I can't think of anybody notable in any of them. I see like one or two.
That's what's great about the BBC, though.
I see like 1 or 2 faces that I recognize in like a Hallmark movie or something, but it's like not even worth it. It's like I don't even care.
They're old. How old are these? At this point,
I don't know. I didn't really pay attention to them. I just like walk in as they're starting them and like, I have nothing better to do with my time right now. Yep.
All right. Well, my baggage. So, Jane Austen's obviously a name that gets thrown around a lot, right? In a conversation of the greatest authors of all time, people just throw out Jane Austen. So, I'm sure I've heard of Jane Austen. I have heard of, no doubt, Pride and Prejudice. I'd heard of that. I've heard of, Sense and Sensibility. Mom was reading that one a long time ago. And oddly enough, probably one of my first introductions to Austen would have been that Pride and Prejudice and Zombies movie that came out in like 2015 or something like that. And I don't know. That's an odd memory, but it's true. And so Jane Austen's kind of been there at the forefront of my mind when it comes to like the literary conversation. And then last year, we actually did a podcast on them around this time last year. We did Pride and Prejudice for school, which was really fun because Pride and Prejudice is awesome. And spoiler alert, and I don't know when we're going to talk about this, but in my opinion, it might be better than Emma. But we'll see. So I read Pride and Prejudice, and obviously I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Tanner, but how it goes on most lists is Pride and Prejudice, then Emma as like the best to read by Jane Austen, right?
Correct. And I would agree with that list.
Yeah, I would too. That was definitely the best two, no matter what order you put them, even though I haven't read any others. Actually, I went to Half Price Books, and I got like the entire Jane Austen collection the other day in one book.
That's fun.
I might end up reading a lot of Jane Austen.
I was looking at, what's the Abbey one? Northanger
Abbey.
Northanger Abbey. I was looking at reading that the other day, and then I got The Wheel of Time, and I'm going to be stuck for like a little while.
14 books for a long time, yeah. Okay.
14,000 pages of reading.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Emma, I was really excited about it because everybody says it's great. Tanner loves it a lot. And I guess, I don't know, I had committed to reading, Warren. I had school books, then I committed to reading War and Peace and Moby Dick. And then I finished, maybe I was close to finishing War and Peace, and I was mowing the lawn. And I was like, you know what? I need an audiobook to listen to because I don't have any podcasts to listen to right now. So I listened to Emma because we had that on Audible. And so I started listening to it. And so I'm going to go back and reread portions of it because we're going to do a more in-depth dive next week on Emma. But let's do it around August, September time. And it was really sporadic because I only mow the lawn, once a week or once every other week. So it would be a little bit of Emma here, a little bit of Emma there. But I was really enjoying it. And I know how everybody says at the beginning you're not supposed to like Emma. Like Jane Austen literally says, I fear that I have created a protagonist that no one will like but myself. But I actually really liked Emma at the beginning. And we'll talk about why. But then obviously she becomes despicable, basically. But then obviously the best part of the book is the end. The last fourth or fifth of the book or so is awesome. It's like the last 3 or 4 hours in the audiobook. And so I was really hooked there. So obviously I love Emma a lot. I just don't think it's as good as Pride and Prejudice for reasons which we'll get to. But that's kind of my baggage with Emma. So, well, anything else to say before we get to just overall thoughts, Tanner?
Nope, not yet.
All right. Well, what did you think about Emma, Tanner?
It's really good.
Yeah, it is.
I like how you're supposed to hate her, right?
Yeah,
you are
sure.
literally supposed to hate her, and I think that's why she's so relatable. It's like I don't like her at all, but she's a really great character, right?
Yeah, and here's the deal: because she's number one, the book is funny, so you can just hang around even though the protagonist is unlikable, and B, you know who Jane Austen is, hopefully, and you know that you trust her, and you know that the conflict, however it is, now is going to be resolved at the end. So,
yeah. I also like...
That's actually part of the problem with the Rings of Power, which we were talking about, is, like, we don't trust them to do Galadriel correctly, right? With the way that, like, okay, if you start Galadriel out this way, fine, as long as you can successfully conclude her arc at the end, and we're just not sure if Amazon can do that, but with Emma, I was always confident that Jane Austen could do it, and also because I knew how the book ended, so there's that.
Cheater.
But, well, what do you mean cheater? Everybody knows how a Jane Austen book ends.
Fair.
And I'd heard Knightley's name thrown around, so.
Anyways, that's about all I have to say.
It's great. You should read it, people. You should read it. And moreover, we should all read it thinking, if you're a girl, oh man, I'm an Emma in this place. Or if you're a guy, you're, what's the guy's name who, like, tricks everybody into thinking he's not married? Mr. Frank Churchill. You know? Like, we shouldn't.
He was engaged. He wasn't married. He was engaged. Difference.
Oh, you're right. He was engaged. Okay. Different. A little bit different. Still not really any worse, but
It depends.
here's the deal. Either you should read this book and aspire to be Mr. Knightley, which reading this book made me want to, honestly. Like, there are very few characters that do this, but I want to aspire to be Mr. Knightley, all right? And you should too, okay? It's not a weird thing to say. But besides that, you should aspire to be Mr. Knightley. You should aspire to be Emma at the end of the novel. You should aspire to be the good people, and then also see where you fall short and where you are maybe reflecting the bad characteristics of Emma at the beginning, or Frank Churchill, or other characters such as the Eltons, right, which are just the most annoying villains of all time, right?
They're so weird.
So you should read it and aspire to be good, or see where you're bad.
Anyways, what did you think about the Eltons?
What are you gonna say?
They're my favorite portion of the book, actually. They're
Really?
hilarious.
Well, obviously, Mrs. Elton is annoying and terrible and disgusting.
No, the Eltons add a cringe
And-
factor that makes me love them.
They do. No. They
No,
do.
like not love them, but like love the
I don't
portions
begrudge
with them.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't begrudge Jane Austen for putting them in because you need a villain, but they are just so annoying, and again, like in a well done way, but they're annoying. Mr. Elton at the beginning, when he's the stuff with just Emma and Harriet and himself is kind of funny, I guess. Like when he compliments Emma, and you can obviously see that he's falling for Emma, even though Emma refuses to see it and wants to convince Harriet that it's the other way around. But then, once he marries Mrs. Elton, and honestly, the best scene for Mr. Knightley was when he's married to Mrs. Elton, or is he married? Yeah, he is. And then he just completely leaves Harriet out to dry, right? But by not dancing with her at the ball.
Yeah.
Remember that scene? And at that moment, you're just like, okay, yeah, Mr. Elton's a bad guy now. We don't like him anymore. And Mr. Knightley comes in and saves the day, and that's a very good scene. But yeah, I think I hate them, and I think that's a good thing because it means Jane Austen did her job right, I guess.
Yes.
But no, I didn't find them as entertaining to be around, I guess, as you did.
I don't know.
So.
They're just, yeah, I don't know. It was just so stupid. It appealed to stupidity like me.
Well, I will say my favorite side character is probably, who's Jane's mom again? Miss Fairfax, I guess. Is that just
Oh
who they
yeah,
call her?
her aunt. It's her
I feel
aunt.
like she was called something different.
It's
Oh, you're right. It is her aunt. Okay.
Miss. Oh, it's not Fairfax though.
Here.
Because
You keep talking. I'm gonna pull it
I
up
was
in the
about
book.
to I only have Google in front of me right now.
You can Google. Yeah, go ahead.
See if I can find it. But I think that they were fun. They were fun.
Yeah.
Just because like they had no idea what they were talking about at any time.
Is it Mrs. Weston or Taylor? Mrs. Campbell. I guess that would no. That's like Jane's godparents, basically, right? I don't know.
Mrs. Bates. Mrs. Bates. Oh, she's so funny. She like doesn't. I don't know. Here's my thoughts about Mrs. Bates. The thing that I love about Mrs. Bates is how she is innocently stupid. Unlike Mr. Elton, who is knowingly
Yes.
stupid.
And we all know that. We all know that person.
Right?
Yeah. Yep. I'd say here are two reasons. First, when I first encountered Mrs.
Mrs. Bates.
Bates or Miss Bates, I get. Well, it's Mrs. I don't know. She's a widow or something. I did not like her. I found her annoying because she's going, on and on and on. And I'm like, okay, Jane Austen, I get it. She likes to do this. Then please make it stop. Make it stop. But then at the very end of the novel, really from that point onward, where Emma insults Miss Bates in front of her, right? Like to her face. And then it starts the cataclysm for Knightley rebuking Emma.
Wrong.
And the greatest scene in the book.
I love that scene. I love that scene.
After that moment, right? Exactly. It's awesome. Badly done, Emma. And then after that scene, you love Mrs. Bates because you see all her good qualities and stuff like that, and just how well she takes the abuse that Emma just lays on her and stuff like that. You feel for her, and it's great. But she can be annoyingly funny.
How do you become a Mr. Knightley? I literally have been trying to wrap my mind around it. Somebody so harsh yet so...
Yeah, you gotta know when to be brutally honest. Like, we all know those people who just think that being honest all the time, those people who are just annoyingly honest. Does that make sense? Like, they're being honest, but it's not a good thing.
Like some homeschoolers I know that are like, like some homeschoolers that are just like say
or
everything
it's even
they think.
well-meaning parents or moms sometimes, or would just say you shouldn't have said or done that. And they could be right, they could be wrong, but sometimes it just doesn't work. I don't know. Like I'm saying, it's good. Like they should obviously be calling out kids who are not doing things right, but sometimes they just don't understand the circumstances or whatever. I know what you're talking about, but Mr. Knightley just does it in a way that's perfect. I don't know. But what I do know is that he's a great character.
I don't know how. Like, he just, like, knows when to shut his mouth, and he knows when to talk.
He knows when to walk away, knows when to run as well. Yeah, man, Mr. Knightley. If there is a case for this being better than Pride and Prejudice, it's Mr. Knightley for sure. I guess let's do some...
He's one of the...
Go ahead.
He's, like, the only reason that Pride and Prejudice is better, I would argue, is because of Darcy. Like,
Really?
I would argue. Like, Darcy adds something that Emma doesn't have. He adds like a
Well, first, he's an age-appropriate lover, whereas Mr. Knightley is a creepy, like, 20-something years older than Emma. So, and there's that one scene at
Hey,
the end where he's, like,
they
proposing.
make it work. They make it not creepy.
Yeah, it's not creepy. But then, like, at the very end, he's like, I've been watching you since you were, like, 10, and I was, like, 30. And you're like, what? Hold up.
creepy.
Yeah. But besides that, yeah,
It is kind of creepy, but it's like, I don't know.
You get over it. You don't picture him as, like, 50, so. Or as 40, I guess, whoever old he is. Yeah.
I don't know. What is their age difference? I feel like it's not 20. I feel like it's somewhere like,
It's in the upper teens. It's gotta be. Hang on.
I think it's like 12 or 15. It's not terrible though. Anyways, besides the point. Just like Darcy adds
16 years older.
okay. We were both kind of right.
Yeah, so that is upper teens.
That is upper teens. I was 15 though.
Okay.
So if we were playing whatchamacallit, I would have won.
Wits and Wagers?
If we were playing what?
Wits and Wagers?
Wits and Wagers, yes. If we were playing Wits and Wagers, I won.
Okay. Well, good for you. What were you saying about?
Thank you. I compare everything to Wits and Wagers when it comes to that. When it comes to numbers. Anyways, I was just saying that like Darcy adds a kind of a relatability and hate of like you don't really know what he's going to do, whereas in Emma, like you kind of know what every character is going to do to some extent. You can see their arc a lot clearer than you can see it.
Well, I mean, come on,
Pride and
there's
Prejudice.
no way that Elizabeth Bennet and Darcy don't end up together at the end.
That's true, but like I'm just talking about like the arc. When you're looking at the arc, it looks a lot different in Pride and Prejudice, and I think that's why it's better for me.
I think Darcy
personally.
appeals to a certain group of people because he's like the ideal, lover for a person. Like if a girl reads Pride and Prejudice or Emma, they're probably gonna, I don't know, they may want Darcy over Knightley or something. But for me, as a guy reading this, I'm like, dude, Mr. Knightley is a boss. So it may depend on just preference.
True.
I would okay. Are we gonna have this discussion now or later about Pride and Prejudice and Emma?
I don't know.
Okay.
Whatever you want to do.
Well, we've been referencing it, so let's go ahead and do it. We'll get specific on like characters and events and style and things like that next episode. We'll do a deep dive. But I think here's the deal: Pride and Prejudice, I think, is better than Emma because it's just a tighter novel. Okay. So Emma is quite a bit longer. It's about 30,000 words longer, I think. And that's okay, except I think it gets a little bloated in the middle. I confess that, like, when I was listening to the Audible, mowing the lawn, I got a bit distracted, like, in the middle. They just kept going to ball after ball and social event after social event, and, like, it just didn't seem like anything was happening. So that's why, to me, the last few hours of the audiobook and then last, fifth of the book or so, but that just, to me, was the better part of the book. Because stuff happened, her arc changed, things like that. But other than that, I think Pride and Prejudice is a tighter novel. You see these two characters go from the start of the novel to the end of the novel, and you just follow them. And it's a tight novel. Everything happens in the way it's supposed to happen. I don't feel like it's bloated. I love Emma. I love Pride and Prejudice. I think Pride and Prejudice just wins a little bit more. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. It just kind of... Yeah, Pride and Prejudice has it just has a relatability that Emma can't seem to match fully. Like, you relate to the characters a lot.
Yeah, I think...
a lot more in Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah, I think that if you get someone Pride and Prejudice, they're able to... They're more easily able to, like, enter into it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, easily able to enter into it and see themselves as Darcy or Bennett, or Elizabeth Bennet. And easier to get involved in the story and get involved with the characters, I think. I mean, it's a bit harder to get into, but I think it's well worth the reward. I mean, I think, honestly, if I'm being honest, I would take the end of Emma over the end of Pride and Prejudice. I just think as a whole, Pride and Prejudice is a more solid novel.
I would agree.
Like, some of the stuff at the end of Emma is just like beautiful with Knightley and Emma. Like, it's just... like it's Emma's story is so powerful. It just I don't know. It's just some Pride and Prejudice has something. It has a je ne sais quoi that Emma just doesn't quite have in my mind. I don't know what it is, but like Emma's story, honestly, it might be better than Elizabeth's story. Mr. Knightley's better than Darcy. The end of Emma is better. I don't know what it is, but Pride and Prejudice for some reason. Maybe I need to read Pride and Prejudice again or read Emma again to figure it out. I guess to give fair weight to each, but my mind. Excuse me. Pride and Prejudice just takes the cup. But like I said, Emma's awesome. Emma's great. Jane Austen at her peak.
Personally, I'm getting an audio clip of everything you just said because the way you said it was so sincere compared to a lot of things that you say, Cooper.
Oh, wow. Okay. I don't know whether to take that as a compliment or an insult, but I suppose it's both.
I don't know. You say I can personally tell when you're like actually passionate about something and when you're trying to be nerdy.
Yeah.
Personally.
Fair enough. True. I guess I really do I love Emma, and even when I was mowing the lawn and I was dirty and tired and hot in Texas August heat and listening to End of Emma, people are like, oh, Cooper, why are like there's a little section of your cheek that's like a little cleaner than the rest? Are you crying? It's like, no, I haven't been crying. I don't know. The proposal scene and all that stuff, and Knightley's rebuke of Emma, all of that stuff at the end just hit me hard, and I didn't really cry, but it's really good. Yeah, but I love Pride and Prejudice as well. So,
here's the thing that I have to say about you and me both reading Emma and Pride and Prejudice. It's hilarious, and it sounds so gay because we're two teenage guys reading these, and we don't talk with any girls about them, and we're not reading them with any girls. It's just you and me.
Yeah,
reading Pride and Prejudice and Emma.
If people think that, if people think it's gay for dudes to read Jane Austen, they need to read Jane Austen themselves, because reading Jane Austen is a very masculine art. Okay.
I would agree, but personally, it hit me while I was just sitting here listening to you. Like, we don't talk about this with any girls.
No,
it's just
true.
us.
It's not like we're trying to, get in with the ladies by reading Jane Austen. Yeah.
Although it definitely works.
It definitely does. It could work.
Actually, I took. Not only could it work, it does work.
Yeah, it does. There you have it from Tanner Lewis himself, the creator of many a fine, long-lasting relationship. Here.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Maybe I shouldn't have referenced that.
More than you, less than Matthew. Actually, me and Matthew are even. I take that.
No, maybe not. I don't think so.
I think it counts.
Hey, well. Hey, next episode, guys, I promise it'll be more structured. We'll have a lot of things to get through, like Emma matchmaking. We got into all the matchmaking stuff, the points of the book, Emma, Knightley, in-depth discussion, Harriet, what Jane Austen has to say about class conflict, about feminism, about all the stuff. It's going to be a meaty episode next time. We had this Jane Austen's style and humor, for goodness sake. We had this, broad overview, primer, dudes discussing Jane Austen episode right now. But the next episode, it's going to be the meaty episode that everybody needs. So, thank you guys for listening. We'll do some donor shout-outs. Tanner, where would someone go if they wanted a donor shout-out?
They would go to patreon.com/bookinit, and they would donate to any of our $5 and up tiers.
Nice. All right. Well, I'm going to shout some donors out, and then, Tanner, you shout them out louder. All right. We have Nana, Grandpappy, and Wayla.
Grandpappy and Wayla.
Actually, Van Pappy. It's his name, Van, not Grandpappy. But, hey, whatever. It's okay. I'm not sure you listen to these anymore.
Hey, I'm working with it. You're also cutting out a little bit.
True. True. I have a nose thing over audio software. It's fine. Mike and Laura. Nope, wait. Isaiah's grandparents. Mike and Sylvia.
Mike and Sylvia.
Mike and Laura.
Mike and Laura.
Aunt Jenny and Uncle Sam.
Aunt Jenny and Uncle Sam.
Moses. Zara. Anna. Emily. Becky. Lizzie. Keenan. Yes.
And that's it.
That was a question mark. Why? Say it more confidently. Okay, whatever. Okay, Tanner's not going to do it for me, guys. I'm sorry. Sorry, Keenan. You deserve better, my friend. All right, well, thank you guys for listening. Hope you enjoyed that discussion of Emma by Jane Austen. We'll get into the nitty-gritty details next week. Until then, please read Emma. You will benefit from it. All of these people that we shouted out are the good Emma and are the good Mr. Knightley because they're donating to this great podcast. And you can too, either by reading this book or by supporting us, or by doing both. So,
do both.
Make sure you become a Knightley and a end of the book Emma, because those people are better human beings. Okay, well, we'll see you next week. Until then,
keep on booking it.